And there were shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flocks by night. And suddenly, an angel appeared, and the glory of the Lord shone around about them, and they were afraid. But the angel said to them, "Don't be afraid, for I bring you good news, which shall be to all people. For unto you this day is born in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord." And suddenly there appeared a heavenly host, singing praise to God, glory in the highest, and peace, goodwill to all men. So what does that say to us today? The shepherds represent that abiding place of peace within us. Imagine you're listening. You're out in a field. The field is that place of peace that abides within us, within each of us. It's that resonant field that Rumi talked about. Out beyond right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. There's a field where we are able to listen. Imagine the shepherds listening. We're able to hear in the silence. The slightest movement, the slightest energy. In that place of peace, we are open to hearing, listening, connecting at a higher frequency than we normally do in our daily walk. In that abiding place of peace within us, we're able to hear the voice of the divine, the energy as represented by the angels in the story, the inspiration that comes in that place of quiet. And what are we able to hear? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of this place of knowing your true nature. The angel appears, that idea, that inspiration, and the glory of the Lord shines around you. What does that mean? It is the glory, that place of knowing. That the angel says the Christ, the essence, the true nature of you and me. That voice of the divine says, it's good news today. That the Christ is born in you. The awareness of that divine nature is born, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today, right here, right now. And when we awaken to that, when we, you and I, awaken to that true nature, the divine life of God that expresses as our Christ potential, then all of heaven rejoices. I know you have experienced that in time of quiet contemplation and meditation. The energies of all of the angels, all of the ascended masters, all of those in higher realms rejoicing, praising God. He's awake. She's awake. Let's celebrate. Have you felt it? You had the experience of awakening to the God within you. and that everything praises that God within you. That is what the message of Christmas is about. That place of peace, an awakening to our true nature. And it arises from that inner place of peace, which is who we really are, where we abide in our true nature. But we don't always access it, do we? We don't always feel peaceful. We are always centered in peace, especially when we're also busy doing the stuff that we do in the holidays, especially. We have other things that go on in our lives, and the holidays just add a whole much more busyness to it. So why don't we live in peace all the time? Well, I have an idea. It's kind of that what goes on up here in your mind takes us out of peace. Charles, have you ever lived in an apartment or been in a hotel room or somewhere where you just wanted to be peaceful and rest? Then upstairs or next door, somebody's having a party. It gets loud, the music gets loud, and they want to have a party, and everybody's laughing and joking and having a good time, and you just want to be peaceful. Well, you know what? That's what goes on in your mind all the time. All the time. Charles Fillmore talked about our thoughts as thought people. I love that idea, thought people. Well, guess what? Those thought people are having a party in your mind all the time. When you wake up in the morning, they start the party. Thinking just happens. I love what Byron Katie says. You don't wake up in the morning and say, I think I won't think today. It's too late. Thinking has already started. And the thing about those thought people that start having that party in your mind is that they start inviting their friends over. And so the party just gets larger and bigger, you know? You know, when you have and then if you have one of those thought people that's about judgment, you know, they invite criticism, they invite condemnation, you know, they invite a punishment, and pretty soon you have a big old party going on, right? And so you get to decide whether you're going to feed those people, you're going to serve them some food, give them a drink. You might even decide you want to dance with them. Sometimes we do, don't we? We just invite them they're just in the party and we're just dancing with them, we're feeding them, all that stuff. Well, and then we get lost. We're not in peace anymore. At least that's my experience. But guess what? You get to be the bouncer at the door. You get to be the bouncer at the door of your party that's going on in your mind. You get to decide who comes in and who does not come in. You have dominion. That's one of the gifts. That when we choose, we can choose what thoughts we allow to have a party in our mind. And I have a good tool for you. And it's very easy. Think of yourself as the bouncer at the door of your mind. The party going on. Those people have invited other friends over. You're at the door and you say, wait. That's it, wait. W-A-I-T. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? And it's like assessing that thought before you allow it to come in your mind, or clearing away those who are already there. Asking them to leave. You have that power. You have that authority in your own mind. You're in control. Sometimes we don't think we are, but we are. And so that can take us out of peace. But when we are willing to let those things go, to say, wait, what am I thinking? Identify the thoughts that you don't really want to have a party in your mind, ask them to leave, and then invite new thoughts. Unity calls that denial and affirmation. Letting go and welcoming the new thoughts. Wait, what am I thinking? You know what? Half the time, we don't even know what we're thinking, do we? Most of the time, we are totally out of our minds. Right? It's just going on. The party's going on. We're just letting it happen. But we can bring ourselves back. Choose the thoughts we want in our mind. The other thing that happens in that place where we're in our minds, and we may not know what's going on in our minds, but our minds are so full. Our minds are just so full when we think we know. You ever been in that place where you think you know? I think I know how everybody else should be. I think I know the truth. I know how everybody else should act. Everybody else should act the way I want them to act. Everything would just be fine. I would be at peace. If you would just do what I want you to do, I would be at peace. Right? Well, we think we know. And when we think we know, guess what happens? When somebody doesn't do what we think they should do, peace goes out the window, doesn't it? Or when something happens in the world and we think, oh, that should not be happening, because we know better, we're not in peace anymore, are we? Because we have our minds so full of ideas and concepts and beliefs and all of those things that we have allowed to stay in there. There's a great story about a college professor who spent years studying Buddhism, studying the history of Buddhism, studying the precepts of Buddhism, practices of Buddhism. And so he decides one day that he really wants to go visit a Zen master. And he thinks he might learn something from the Zen master. And so the day arrives, he goes into the room with the Zen master, and he immediately starts telling the Zen master all the things he knows about Buddhism, all the things he's learned and been teaching and practicing. And so the Zen master says, well, let's just wait a minute. Let's have a cup of tea before we get into all of that. And so he hands him the cup, and he starts pouring tea into the cup. He keeps pouring and pouring and pouring, and all of a sudden, the tea just starts spilling out of the cup. And the professor says, Zen master, do you understand what's happening? The cup is overflowing. He said, yes, just like your mind. When your mind is so full of what you think you know, you're not available to learn anything else. And so it is a practice that we can get into to get back into peace. When we think we know so much, and what we know is interfering with our peace, A Course in Miracles offers some great lessons. If you're not familiar with the Course, it is a text that was channeled by Jesus, someone channeled Jesus. And the first of those lessons are basically, I don't know what anything means. It's getting into that place of the I don't know mind that can bring us back to peace. I don't know what anything in this room means. Just look around the room. Notice how many things you have already assigned meaning to when you walked in the room. Look at the people in your lives. When you see them, you already know who that is, or you think you do. Can we practice looking at things from fresh eyes and telling ourselves, I don't know what this means, and be open to a new understanding of what it means? I don't know what anything means. How does that feel? To be in openness, curiosity. It can help us come back to peace, like the shepherds, where we listen. We listen. When our minds are so full, they can't take anything else in. But when we get into that place of peace and we let go and imagine that we're just opening our inner ears and we're able to hear at a different level. And we can receive from higher consciousness, from the voice of God. You know, I don't know what Denise's experience is with writing music, but I would imagine sometimes that comes through in a place where she's just in a place of just allowing, letting it flow, letting the energy be through her. But if she's already full, I know this from writing. If I think I need to know it, I need to do it, it needs to happen through me, and I know how it needs to come out, I'm blocking, right? So as we open up. And the third thing I want to share with you is what the master teacher Jesus said. You cannot enter the kingdom unless you become as a child. That place of peace, that abiding place of peace, is the kingdom. It's a place of knowing our unity, our oneness, our Christ light. And what I think he was talking about is like if you were here yesterday, you experienced the joy of the children. There were so many children here waiting to see Santa Claus. And Santa Claus was here yesterday. Those of you who are here know that Santa Claus was here yesterday, right? Yes. And the children, the eyes of wonder and delight. And just being in the moment. I love that about children. You know, they can get upset about something, and 10 seconds later, they'll be up playing again. Or they'll fall down and they'll get hurt and they'll cry a little bit, they'll get a little love, and the next thing you know, they don't even remember that happened. They're not hanging on. They're open to what's now. What's happening now? What great thing can I do now? What fun project can I get engaged in now? Who can I play with now? Right? What's Santa Claus going to bring me? And I think that's what Jesus was saying to us. When we're out there worrying so much or hanging on to past hurts, hanging on to what happened yesterday, we're not present for today. When I'm hanging on to what happened 10 minutes ago, I'm not present for what's happening now. And I think that's really what Advent and Christmas invite us into. It's being present, being alert and awake to what's happening now. How is life showing up now? What wonderful thing is happening now? Because when we're not there, we're missing out. So become as a child. Can you imagine? Just becoming like a child. Just being in the moment. Wonder, delight, innocence. And just being present. And so, just again, peace. Peace is not a place of just blissing out. It's not a place of just doing nothing. I'm talking about a place where we are centered and life is happening in its fullness. And we're alert and we're awake, just like the shepherds had to be awake and alert to what was happening in the moment. And when we're open to that, when we're open and in that place, wonderful insights and awarenesses can come. And the best one, the deepest one, the one we celebrate on Christmas is that you are the birthplace of the Christ. The Christ is born in you. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but now. And we can rejoice in that, celebrate that, share that. So can you imagine, you're a child, and you have a realization of something that just excites you so much. Something that is just so exciting to you. You can't wait to tell everybody. You can't wait to share it with somebody else. That's the excitement. Awake, awake, awake. Christ is born today. Christ is born in you. Go tell it on the mountain. Share it with your friends. It is contagious. It is contagious. And so remember, wait. What am I thinking? Get into that place of, I don't know. The I don't know mind, the beginner's mind, when we allow what we think we know to put us into a place of stress. And become as a child. Celebrate the joy that arises in that place of peace. Celebrate the birth every day, every moment of the Christ that you are. Stay awake.